It's the pointer, you see. For those who become fantastically wealthy, they have this ability to bring down this type of reality into their world. Become fantastically wealthy, like super wealthy. Your Bezos and your, Gates and Musks. That's really what it is. Working towards being pulled by, but that wealth is not outside of them. And what it represents is the ability to just connect the entire space to the source, to that desire which they have. And this is going on within them. And that space is like, that connection is like, it's like the reference in the Bible when they talk about Jacob's ladder, the angels that were coming up and from earth to heaven, heaven to earth, on a continuous process. That is the connection to the true, pure desire, albeit, and that desire, the pursuance of that, allows them to imaginate, because which is the combination of imagination and the ability to make that imagination real. They're able to imaginate this type of existence into their reality. And this is what it is, you see. Now, the fact that this desire is connected to something that is ultimately very detrimental, is because of the scope of the altitude of that desire. Because the desire exists in 6+1 stages. And it's really 6 stages, but the +1 there is just to show you that it continues in multiples of 6s. That is the altitude of desire, the structure of desire. So you can have a pure desire to a first multiple or a second multiple or whatever, Or you could have a straight connection to very high level of multiples. The higher the multiple, the closer to the source you are. But the source is infinitely far. So you never really get there. But what you can experience is you can experience a pure connection to that desire. And by so doing, use that, the power to imaginate comes out. But if your power to imaginate is coming from a low level, or a relatively low level, then what you bring down contains imperfections. The implementation. And it's all dependent on the altitude at which the desire can be found. Now, in the future world, people will have very strong connections to very high desires. And they will do so because something inside them has cut them off from the multitude of the low desires. They know they're there, they see them. But it doesn't mean anything to them, it doesn't affect them in any way. And then the higher they go, the more they come to realize that that those lower layers are not there anymore. They become disconnected and decoupled from them. And that's really what it is, see? That's how people are going to change, because it looks like when you look at the world today, you say, oh, this is wrong, that is wrong, this is wrong. There are problems everywhere. In fact, there's no area of existence, human existence, you're looking now, you don't see problems that seem unresolvable. They experience this explosion of possibility of how these problems you can't solve these problems because one problem leads into another problem, and before you know what's happening, you're looking at, yes, that's true. It's because there is only one problem. And that problem has blossomed into a global problem. And the problem has nothing to do with the external world. The external world is not there per se. We map into that external world. The functionality of that external world is what we map into. We are coupled to it, just like how you couple oscillators or you couple capacitors or whatever. But we're synchronized with it. That's where we derive our meaning. That's how we know that we are self-aware. So the physical world that we're looking at and us, there is no difference. It's the same machinery. Now, but what is happening is that the distance between somehow the perception of this full functionality has been distorted. So you now appear to have a physical world that is outside of you. And the only way that that physical world is currently being understood is by negating itself. You want to start any experiment, you have to go through, you want to be taken seriously, your results have to go through the scientific method, which is an experimentation, an observation of objective reality. But objectification is something that is also a concept that is not included in the experiments that you are doing. Because you cannot separate yourself from that which you are measuring and observing. Because you are not measuring a world that is out there. You are measuring a world that is you. So what else do you want to find in the so-called objective world that is not you? You are the objectivity. That's why you're self-aware. At the end of the day, once this is digested and absolutely understood, the potential for the modification of human behavior is not something that you can actually predict today, because you cannot begin to understand what such a radical. Do you know what it is? What it does is it takes the current, everything you know in the world today, and it dumps it in the garbage bin. Because it is a meltdown of your complete awareness. Once it goes into you and it sits that this is the nature of reality, you disappear, you just melt. Your state of how you define yourself as an individual, your self-awareness disintegrates. Not because it's a logical consequence. Because it's almost like you just realize that you are asleep and your whole life's been a dream. I mean, you have a lot of sci-fi movies that play with things like this, movies like The Matrix. And somehow everybody tends to resonate with this. The more you come to discover reality, the more you understand, the more you're educated, you begin to realize that there is something wrong. What this message, what these observations and these things are telling us is that there is something wrong with our understanding of the world. And I want you to understand that our understanding of the world is that what we've been trying to do is to study the interface between where we end and where the external world begins. But there is no such interface. And so we have built a world according to the nature of that interface. It's apparent. We have trained ourselves, every human being is knee deep in this type of perception. We come to learn it. And then otherwise we cannot integrate, we cannot function. So we couple into the systems that we are born into. And then we use that coupling to forge our identity. It's not apparent what we're doing. Because that thing that we are doing, that's who we are. What do you think your desires are? Your desires are your cheat code, your unique cheat code on how you can plug into reality. And when the context is this definition or objectification of reality, then our desires plug in a particular way. And those desires project the outcomes that come to imaginate in our reality. That's really what it is. So when the essence, the core of that awareness, self-awareness, is based on this, and all of a sudden you